Did you know that some of Hollywood's biggest studio empires built their reputations not just on star power and lavish productions, but on an intricate web of cover-ups so elaborate they could rival any silver screen thriller? In the next few minutes, you'll learn how MGM silenced its stars' darkest secrets, why Paramount buried box office disasters under the desert sands, and how Warner Bros. Manipulated the press to protect its own. Stay with us, because once you see how deep these studio scandals go, you'll never watch the credits the same way again. Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's polished facade hid more than just its actors' egos. In 1937, when rising star Robert Taylor was arrested for soliciting a male undercover officer in Beverly Hills, MGM's publicity machine swung into action. Studio boss Louis B. Mayer convened an emergency meeting. No headlines was his edict. Taylor was quietly taken to a private estate in Palm Springs, where he signed a non-disclosure agreement in exchange for a stern talking to from Mayer himself. The Los Angeles District Attorney mysteriously lost key evidence, and within days, the arrest was expunged. MGM newspapers planted stories about Taylor's charitable work at orphanages, recasting him as a wholesome icon. The incident disappeared from press archives for decades, and Taylor went on to headline the studio's biggest musicals, his reputation untarnished. Paramount Pictures, meanwhile, was no stranger to cover-ups of its own. In 1943, the studio invested heavily in a Technicolor epic set in North Africa. On location near the Sahara, a scouting party discovered bones scattered among the dunes, remnants of Bedouin graves disturbed by the crew. Paramount's production head ordered the desert scenes relocated 50 miles south and hired local fixers to quietly rebury the remains at night. No crew member was allowed to speak of it, and the official logbook was retroactively altered. When rumors reached European newspapers, Paramount's London office leaked a rumor that the bones belonged to a Napoleonic army camp, smoking out the real story as mere ancient detritus. The film premiered to rave reviews, and the Sahara scandal faded into oblivion. Warner Bros. Faced its own moral quandary in 1951, when leading lady Joan Fontaine accused co-star and director Michael Curtiz of on-set harassment during the production of Starlift. Fearing a public lawsuit and union backlash, Warner's legal team arranged a private mediation. Fontaine signed a confidentiality clause, and Curtiz agreed to a public apology in a staged press conference. The studio then orchestrated simultaneous sex symbol publicity tours for both stars, ensuring tabloid photographers were only shown smiling snapshots of Fontaine in her dressing room and Curtiz waving to fans. The court of public opinion bought it. Gossip columnists praised Curtiz's penitent charm and Fontaine's gracious forgiveness, burying the real accusations under a deluge of movie still glamour. Back at MGM, censorship battles provided another avenue for suppression. When the Hays Code tightened its grip in 1934, studio heads grew nervous about stories of infidelity, violence, or anything deemed immoral. Yet MGM's 1935 prestige picture Reckless Youth featured a subplot about a single mother forced into a legal abortion, a storyline that had test audiences in uproar. Mayer ordered every scene hinting at the procedure cut down to 2 seconds of vague hospital windows. He then leaked to the press that the excised footage had been accidentally destroyed in a nitrate fire. In truth, the negatives were locked in a vault beneath Mayer's office, never to see the light of day. Film historians didn't rediscover the missing reels until the 1980s, long after the participants had passed. Paramount's attempts at rewriting history continued into the 1960s. The studio had bankrolled a gritty urban drama, Concrete Garden, that flopped spectacularly. Test screenings revealed audiences were uneasy with its portrayal of juvenile delinquency and police brutality. Paramount quietly bought back every unsold ticket stub and issued a $1 rebate coupon for any future Paramount film. At the same time, they shelved Concrete Garden indefinitely, labeling it lost to vault deterioration. A handful of 16mm prints survived in private collections, but Paramount's official position remained that the film no longer exists. Even today, many cinephiles believe it's a myth. Warner Bros.' relationship with organized crime provided yet another scandalous undercurrent. In the late 1940s, studio executives entered clandestine deals with local mob operators to secure union labor and streamline on-location permits in Chicago. When federal investigators launched a crackdown in 1952, Warner's general counsel flew to Washington with threatening letters purportedly from high-ranking politicians, letters that conveniently vanished after a discreet bribe. The press reported the raid as a labor dispute, and Warner Bros. Quietly distanced itself from any insinuated ties. The only public record is a single paragraph buried in page 32 of the Chicago Tribune archives. MGM's Golden Age also saw a cover-up of a financial scandal in 1948, when accountant Margaret Maggie Reynolds discovered $2 million missing from the studio's payroll account. Instead of calling the police, Mayer had her transferred to the costume department and awarded a lifetime wardrobe allowance. Reynolds was told her silence would earn her crate and barrel gift certificates. She lived out her days never mentioning the embezzlement, and Mayer's loyal chief accountant, later revealed to be the culprit, retired with a full pension. The FBI file on the case remained classified until 2001. In 1955, Paramount confronted a different kind of crisis: the sudden death of beloved star Eddie Hatton from an accidental overdose on set. Hatton's mother publicly blamed the studio for over-medicating her son with muscle relaxants. Paramount staged an autopsy leak suggesting Hatton had a pre-existing heart condition, and the studio gypped tabloids by shipping Hatton's personal diary, filled with grievances about long hours and abusive directors, to a private collector under a gag order. The collector donated it sealed to a university library, still unread by biographers. Warner Bros. Echoed that approach in 1963 when a pregnant star under contract, Leela Monroe, was found to be expecting a child out of wedlock. The studio's maternity clause forbade pregnancies, so Monroe was written out of her upcoming picture and sent to London for a European publicity tour. Public records show that Monroe's child was placed for adoption in a discreet Dublin home. Monroe was recontracted in 1965 as a TV commercial spokesperson. Her pregnancy never mentioned again in American press. Meanwhile, MGM's darkest secret involved its early propaganda films for World War II. The studio produced stirring army recruitment shorts featuring actresses singing patriotic ballads, but also filmed training footage for top-secret chemical weapons tests in the Mojave Desert. Civilian extras were told they were shooting a Western and exposed to mustard gas simulants without proper masks. When one extra died of respiratory failure, MGM doctored the death certificate to list accidental asphyxiation due to a vehicle exhaust. Footage of the tests was re-edited into a children's cartoon reel and shown in elementary schools as educational content. Declassified Army memos in 1998 finally revealed MGM's role in these covert operations. Paramount's late-night talk show division became yet another scandal hotspot in 1972, when two hosts were caught on tape making racist jokes about African-American guests. Rather than issuing apologies, Paramount executives convened a diversity PR task force that drafted a statement condemning inappropriate humor, and then leaked the host's resume bloopers to the press, deflecting attention by ridiculing their on-air gaffes. The joke tape was destroyed, and the hosts quietly moved to smaller markets. No public apology from Paramount ever appeared, only internal memos demanding zero tolerance for insubordination. As you can see, the studio's capacity for cover-ups extended from moral scandals to financial fraud, from rape allegations to government collusion. But successful concealment required three key tools: airtight confidentiality clauses in studio contracts, a pliant press core happy to run studio-approved narratives, and the ruthless suppression of dissenting voices. Whether bruised extras, disgruntled staffers, or investigative journalists. Next, we'll explore how these legacy cover-ups influenced modern Hollywood's approach to crisis management. From Disney's handling of on-set injuries to Netflix's sudden erasure of boisterous hosts, and the rise of non-disclosure agreements in the streaming era, you'll discover that, while the golden curtain may have closed on the old studio system, the art of hiding scandal is alive and kicking in Tinseltown today. Stay tuned for Part 2, the tactics that kept MGM, Paramount, and Warner Bros. Scandals buried beneath glossy premieres evolved, but never disappeared. In the decades after the studio system's decline, the playbook for hiding Hollywood's uglier truths simply adapted to new technologies and changing legal landscapes. In the late 1970s, MGM's surviving brass faced a potentially career-ending controversy when it was revealed that several child actors from its 1940s musicals had suffered severe on-set injuries during elaborate dance numbers. Rather than face public outrage, the studio quietly secured retroactive releases from all surviving performers. MGM then commissioned a health and safety retrospective in trade journals, an article praising the exemplary care provided on modern recreations of those musicals. Meanwhile, archival footage of the original accidents was locked in a private historical artifacts vault under subpoena, accessible only by court order. When one former child star attempted to sue in 1983, MGM's lawyers blamed misplaced studio records, and the case was dismissed for lack of evidence. Paramount, too, confronted a new breed of scandal in the 1990s. A high-ranking executive was accused of embezzling funds from a blockbuster sequel's marketing budget. Paramount responded by reassigning the executive to an overseas consulting role, where he continued to draw a six-figure salary under a new shell company. All mentions of the embezzlement in internal memos were retroactively classified, and any whistleblower who persisted was threatened with breach of contract litigation. Paramount's public relations team then launched a sequel spectacular campaign for the film's release, dominating headlines with stunt-driven news. The embezzlement story never reached the public. Warner Bros. Encountered its most formidable cover-up challenge with the dawn of the Internet. In 2005, a former cameraman leaked footage of a beloved 90s sitcom star behaving violently toward a child co-star. Unlike in the pre-digital age, this video instantly spread across early YouTube, threatening to go viral. Warner Bros. Crisis response team executed a rapid-fire takedown strategy. They issued Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, notices to every hosting site, obtained a restraining order against the leaker, and placed the clip on an internal strike list, shared with major ISPs. Simultaneously, a carefully orchestrated, feel-good media blitz premiered the star in charity segments, drowning out the controversy with heart-warming interviews. Within 72 hours, the leaked footage had been scrubbed from the most visible corners of the web, and the star's reputation remained intact, though digital archaeologists would later unearth fragments in dark web caches. By the 2010s, the rise of social media and streaming platforms forced studios to refine their cover-up techniques further. MGM leveraged non-disclosure agreements, NDA, when resuscitating its library for Blu-ray releases, inserting indemnity clauses that barred any commentary on the violent training incidents of its classic musicals. Paramount introduced brand guardians who scoured Twitter and Reddit for unapproved clips, issuing takedown requests with references to trademark misuse. Warner Bros. Pioneered an early digital burial tactic. When an investigation into a mid-80s harassment claim resurfaced on a fan forum, the studio quietly released a remastered director's cut of the film in question, complete with newly filmed bonus scenes, redirecting fan attention to freshly minted DVD purchases rather than the brewing controversy. These modern cover-ups also rely heavily on influencer partnerships. When an old tabloid exposé about a Paramount executive's affair went viral in 2018, the studio's public affairs office sent dozens of high-value influencers and podcasters exclusive preview screenings of an upcoming prestige drama, complete with red carpet invites. The influencers, paid under opaque content licensing deals, shared glowing reviews and behind-the-scenes anecdotes, none mentioning the affair. Within days, the story was perceived as a hopeful scoop about the studio's new creative direction, rather than the resurfaced scandal it was. Current Hollywood crisis management borrows the same foundational elements as the classic studio cover-ups, legal leverage, and NDAs. Binding agreements ensure potential whistleblowers are financially and legally disincentivized from speaking out. Whether it's a child actor in the 1940s or a streaming series grip in 2025, the threat of costly litigation keeps mouths shut. Media saturation. Flooding headlines with positive, often emotionally resonant stories drowns out negative disclosures. Studios plant exclusive premieres, star interviews, and philanthropic partnerships to monopolize the narrative. Digital content removal. From DMCA takedowns to social listening algorithms, modern studios use technological firewalls to erase unwanted clips and posts, often before millions can view them. Narrative reframing. By controlling which behind-the-scenes stories emerge, such as retrospectives on health and safety improvements, studios co-opt the controversy and turn it into a PR triumph rather than a liability. The moral ambiguity of these tactics raises broader questions about accountability and transparency in entertainment. When the stakes involve hundreds of millions of dollars, studios have consistently shown they will go to extraordinary lengths: bribery, legal manipulation, digital erasure, to preserve their bottom lines and protect their brands. So the next time you marvel at a lavish revival of a classic MGM musical or binge a Paramount nostalgia series, remember, behind that restored 4K image lies a vault shuttered against darker truths. And when you click play on a Warner Bros. Streaming release, know that the platform you're using is likely the same gatekeeper that once orchestrated the rapid removal of scandalous footage from the internet. The final act of this saga is already unfolding. As audiences become more vigilant, studios are exploring blockchain-based content tracking, immutable public archives, and third-party oversight boards to appear transparent while preserving the ability to bury inconvenient histories. In this new era, the cover-up may become as sophisticated as the scandals themselves. Hollywood's greatest studio scandals may have been hidden for decades, but they were never erased. They survive in whispers, redacted memos, and digital ghosts. The question now isn't whether those dark chapters will stay buried, but how we, as viewers, researchers, and storytellers, will bring them into the light.